Okay, I think I finally got it working. Sorry it's taken so long, and there's probably nobody here in the stream, but I'm gonna make sure everything's running anyway. Let's see here. Just gonna confirm that everything works. Okay, I think I finally got it working. Sorry it's taken so long, and there's probably nobody here in the stream, but I'm gonna make sure everything's running anyway. Let's see here. Okay, I think it's working now. Let me just make sure everything's properly hooked up. Again, really sorry about the wait. It's just been a while since I last streamed. Had to change a bunch of settings. Alright, now just gonna configure everything here. Okay, so I'm gonna finish up the tests here and make sure everything is good to go. Alright, and see if I can see myself here. There we go. Okay. So I can see myself. And last one is... Alright. Make sure I can do this. There's a bit of a feedback delay, so what I'm seeing and what you guys are seeing, there's about maybe a 10-second delay. That's why I'm just staring blankly. I'm just waiting for the stream to catch up, and I want to make sure everything works before I really get into it. Okay, good to go. So here we go. And back to me here. Okay, so let me tell you guys what happened. I got back late from landscaping, and then setting everything up was a nightmare. I should have tested everything last night, but here we go. Let's get to some of your questions, shall we? Alright, so I had some Patreon questions, and I'm going to try to cover everyone's question. And whatever I don't get this time, I'll definitely come around and do it again. Alright, so let's start with... Let's see here. I have these on my phone here. Okay, Olaf. Let me just pause. Okay. This is a question from Olaf, and I'm going to read the whole question. I already asked him if I can read it, and he said it's fine. So, here we go. Oleg, hi. Here's a question for you. You can text or consider in your video today. If normal ability to skate for 2+ hours drops to 45 or 60-minute sessions 4 days a week and 30-minute sessions 2 days a week for a month or two, how should I adjust programming of practice sessions? Here's what I did with these last 2 months, and would love advice of what I might have done better. Note that all of this is in 40 minutes. Each element only gets done once and not even close to 5 times. Here's what I did. A. Ankle bends. Bends off ice before getting on B. Quick inside edges. Swizzles to warm up C. Ankle bends at wall and skates on ice to loosen ankle/knees. D. Backwards, odd back and forth skiers to practice laying ankles over over. E. Figure 8 blade flips, forward, outside to inside at the center. So he's talking about the wicket edge exercise. That's wicket. To warm up for outside edge laps. F. Forward and backward outside edge laps down the boards. G. Half rink front and back crossover circles. H. Power pulls, one length each front and back, left and right. I. Fast but on circle stroking to practice arms both way and toward circle fronts and back, just once or twice around each circle. J. Russian stroking forward and back. K. Mohawk practice at the boards, one length each direction. L. Inside forward 3 turns. So this goes on for another quite a bit. Anyway, very thorough. Thank you, Olaf. Getting back to your question, though. So you have all these exercises, and your time suddenly shrinks. So what do you do in such an instance? All right, well, you have to prioritize. Essentially, what you want to think about is you have your warm-up that you do off ice. You got to do that before getting on the ice. Sometimes skaters just jump on the ice, and then they just use that as a warm-up. Well, it's not such a great idea, because if you don't properly warm up your body, you can get hurt. And also, if you're jumping right into a lesson without having warmed up anything, and if you haven't skated that day, for instance, then it's just, you're going to spend half your lesson just warming up without making much progress at that point. All right, so in this instance, what should you do? What would I recommend that you do? So you have limited amount of time, but what I need to know is your goal in this instance. Now, later on, I texted with Olaf and I talked to him, but what often happens is skaters have nebulous goals where it's like, okay, so I want my skating skills to improve. I want to have better 3 turns, better mohawks, better crossovers, and so forth. But these kind of goals, they're quite nebulous because, I mean, I want better crossovers and better mohawks and so forth. I mean, it's one of those things that can always be made better. You can always make them stronger. And in this case, what I suggested to him is that you want to select actionable goals, clear and actionable goals that you can pursue, and then that are going to have a finite amount of time that you can pursue them in. So what I suggested is consider looking at trying to focus on getting a sequence, or what I suggest specifically is, what about doing moves in the field? I mean, you don't have to test them, but they're a great thing to focus on, and if you can test them, then that's one of those things. It lets you kind of focus your energy, and that way you're going to get feedback, because it's very easy to get frustrated just putting in all this time, effort, and energy, and then you're not quite sure where you stand, how much you're progressing, because as you get better, it's hard to tell how much you progress from day to day. Anyway, so if you have a bunch of things that you work on and your time suddenly shrinks, focus on making sure warming up properly off ice, and then afterwards you want to make sure and go over the really important things like warm up on ice, in this case, stroking, edges, crossovers. If you have time to do some turns. And then you want to go through the thing that you're trying to pursue, your goal. So for instance, if you're doing competition, you want to do sections of your program or elements of your program. If you're working on a test, you want to run those moves tests, and so forth. You want to kind of know what you're focusing on, and the other stuff, it's important too, but at the same time, just make sure, do your stroking, do your edges, do your crossovers. In crossovers, you go both directions, forwards and backwards. Stroking, perimeter stroking, edges, forward insides, forward outsides, backward insides, backward outsides. You can do 2 laps, first lap, forward inside down the ice, second side coming back, doing forward outsides, and then do backwards. And that's just a quick warm-up you can do. I mean, there's other ways. This is for a somewhat advanced skater. For a lower level skater, you can do them edges on the line, for instance, or edges on circles, just holding it and gliding on one foot. But that's kind of the idea. All right, so let's look at another question. All right, we have, here we go. All right. And okay, and all right, here we go. So this is coming from Chris and had a question. Okay, let me read the question here real quick. All right. How do I get more flex in my back? It's become so clear that doing the off-ice stroking position was hard due to my back. I do yoga sometimes and it helps, but yoga bores me a little. I think too fast, and then asked if I could answer this in the video. Okay, so some exercises that are relevant to skaters for warming up off ice. So let's take a look at that. And we're going to transition here. And we're going to go on my website, icedanceroleg.com, here. And then we're going to go to videos. Okay, so here we're going to go to Ice Dancer Oleg Off Ice. All right, now, here I have a bunch of off-ice exercises, and the earlier ones, they are for warming up. So this is a quick warm-up exercise, and actually another skater had asked if I can do a warm-up exercise video, so we can look at this real quick. Just turn this off. And then we're going to look at a few other ones. I'm going to get to more questions afterwards. Now, there's any number of warm-up exercises you can do. You don't necessarily have to follow this specific one. All right, now let me just get myself, I'm monitoring myself on a separate computer to make sure that everything's still working and there are no breaks. All right, let's start here. Let me start at the beginning here. Okay, so I'm going to stand shoulder width apart. Now in this exercise, what you want to do is first jog around a little bit, get your body going, and you start by rolling your head. You roll it 5 times, maybe 10 times, and you roll both directions. As you roll your head, you want to roll it around. You want to feel it like it's rolling all the way around. Make sure that it's not just kind of like missing the back part. Then you roll your shoulders. All of this is very important because it's very easy to kink your neck in skating. Even when you warm up, sometimes you twist too quickly and then you can kink your neck and that becomes a problem. Even more so in dance when you're lifting your partner and your partner might wrap around your neck for a lift, and you know, sometimes you have to do that. I mean, I've kinked my neck before in skating, so it's just one of those things. It's good to warm up properly. Okay, now I am doing side twists. This is very important. I'm going to go back here for a second. Side twists are very important for cross-checking. Keep my hips forward and I twist my body side to side. Now, I'm answering 2 questions at once. I'm answering how to do a proper warm-up and then how to increase back flexibility. So this is all going to be interrelated. Anyway, here I'm twisting side to side, keeping my hips forward. This is very important for all kinds of turns. Okay, we can continue forward. Now I'm rolling around. When you go back, make sure you roll it around. You get yourself all the way back there. Roll it around like that. Okay, go both directions. And again, all of this, you want to make sure your body's already warmed up, so make sure you jog or do jumping jacks or anything of the like to get your body going. You don't want to start doing all of this on a cold body because that's you can get hurt. Even more so in jumping on the ice if you haven't warmed up. Okay, so this is right here. It's just another exercise I'm doing. It's like a version of wall presses, but I'm also rolling my hands around. I mean, you can do this or you can do wall presses, but either way is fine. Now I'm going to start stretching my legs. There's a bunch of different leg stretches you can do. This is a good one as well. And then you can also do your splits. Another thing you can do is put your leg up on a trash can, with a lid on top, of course. Sometimes, those rink cans, or there's railing that a lot of skaters do that all the time. They stretch their legs, and I'm going to show you something similar. These are actually these ruins out here at a park, and not far from where I live. This used to be an old building of some sort. I don't know exactly. Maybe it was a school or something like that, but it's pretty old. Now it's a park. It's pretty cool, though. I like this area. Okay, so here we go. I believe that's the end of that. Let me just check here, see if I missed anything else. Okay, yeah, so I'm just going into details. All right, now let's go down a little further. Okay, here we go. Okay, so right here, this is another thing you can do is you put your leg up. Let's look at this for a second here. Now, there are a number of different ways you can do this. One way is to put your leg up and then press down like in a stroking position. Another way that I'm going to show you is the one I recorded recently where it's the wall stroking, where you're facing the wall and lifting your leg. In this case, you're stretching yourself by limiting your leg, and the other one is you're using your muscles to get your leg up to help build the muscle to have the strength to lift the leg to get you the kind of length and turnout that you need. But you need both flexibility and strength, because without having the necessary strength, then you won't be able to lift it even if you have the flexibility. But if you don't have the flexibility but your legs are strong, they're just going to be too stiff to lift. So let's watch. Now, something I got to point out with skating is human bodies aren't necessarily built for skating. I mean, in some ways, skating is very counterintuitive for the human body. So you're constantly having to train to push your body to do things that it's not necessarily designed to do. I mean, it can do. The human body is the most amazing instrument that I have ever seen or ever heard of, because it's just so adaptable. There's so many things that you can do with the human body that you could adapt it to so many different ways and environments and professions. It's just amazing. But in this case, it's just pointing out is for those that don't train on a regular basis, that don't stretch on a regular basis, and now that I'm a coach, I have to do this myself. I have to spend more time doing this kind of thing, because if I don't, then I'm just going to lose everything. And you gotta maintain yourself. Alright, so here we go. Okay, so let's look at this one right here. Alright. Okay, so now doing stroking, again, you're using your back and hip and muscles to lift your leg and your glutes to turn out to try to get that back flexibility. And this kind of exercise is great for developing the muscle strength and turnout that you need in order to have good stroking position. So, and now the way I'm not hitting I'm not actually hitting the floor until I change my feet is because I'm lifting my hip. I'm actually going to go back and show you because you can't really see. Actually, let me see if I go a little further. Let's see if I have a front view. Okay, I guess not. Anyway, if I go back to this side, what I'm doing is I pass, I rise, but I've got this hip lifted. And this is also true when skating, is you want to lift the hip a little bit. That enables you to pass the leg straight by without having to bend the knee. It actually looks very nice if you can pass the leg straight instead of having to bend it through. I mean, for some dances and some positions it's nice to bend it through, but being able to pass a straight leg through when the other leg is straight without having to bend it looks really nice, and it's a worthy skill to develop. Alright, so got that point across. Now let's see here. I have it in Okay, we go into videos. And right here. By the way, this is another exercise, wall presses and wall stroking. We're actually going to look for wall stroking because it's more relevant to Chris's question, but the wall presses is another exercise you can do for warming up. It's really good for your knees and ankles. And I recorded as an off-ice, let me show you here. If you wanted to see the off-ice version of it, was right here, episode 11. That's my dog, Wesley. Okay, he heard another dog or something. Okay, let's get back to the video. Here we go. Okay, now go. Okay, so what you do here is you stand against the wall, and then I'm going to show you real quick. So you don't want your toe against the wall. You want your knee against the wall or close to it, but you don't want your toe against the wall, because if you do that, you're not going to be able to maintain this press. This is what we're working on here, is a stroking position. Remember what I said about skating is somewhat counterintuitive? Normally, this isn't how we stand, obviously, or walk. So it's going to feel weird, and it's going to take some time to develop the necessary muscle strength to do this comfortably. But initially, like I said, it's going to feel uncomfortable. All right, here we go. And then put it down on the toe, and then you lift it up. You want to push your kneecap in. That doesn't mean you turn your leg in. The leg is turned out, but you're pushing your kneecap in to straighten. Just as you're pushing this kneecap out, you're pushing the kneecap in to lock that leg. You want to straighten that foot, turn it out. You want to use your glutes and lower back muscles to lift right here. But what you want to do is make sure that you're lifting it at a turned out angle. You want to turn your leg out. You don't want to lift it with your heel pointing up in the air. Ideally, your foot will be parallel to the floor, to the ground. And then you want to point your toe as hard as you can. Now over here, if you're doing this on the boards, you can do it on the boards also, but you don't want to grip anything. I mean, the idea here is just for balance. You're not supposed to support yourself, because when you skate, gripping anything isn't going to enable you to skate better for it, because what are you going to grip onto when you're skating by yourself out there? Anyway, let's watch. Lift and hold, down, lift and hold, down, lift and hold, down. Don't forget to breathe while doing all these exercises, by the way. Don't hold your breath. And that's a thing that I should point out for all the dancers out there. When you do lifts, you have to breathe. And here again, I'm doing the same stroking exercise that I was doing in the other video. In this case, I am doing a pause in between, and either way is fine. Like I said, all these things are great for developing the necessary back flexibility and good stroking line. This is right here is about developing your axis as well. Notice the shoulder, hip, heel line remains whether I'm straight up or bending down. You want to maintain this line right here. Okay, well, I hope that answered Chris's question. Let's see where we're at right now. Okay, now let me just check on the stream real quick. Okay. The user, another butt for chair, writes, "Hello, Oleg. Hello, another butt for chair. I fell on my knees, and for some reason the back of my knees is hurting. Can't bend it much. Feel swollen, but getting better." Okay, actually, that's an interesting point. I'm gonna show you something. Alright. Okay, so I'm gonna talk some more about something, but first... Alright, let me do this real quick here. I'm gonna transition back to me. Or actually, I'm gonna transition back to the screen, and then we're gonna look at... Here we go. Okay, so another buffalo chair, what happened was they slammed their knees, and instead of the front of their knees, the back of their knees hurts. That's pretty rare, but it does happen. And basically, it's how the shock went through your body. Sometimes the shock from impact goes through your body and ends up hurting more on the opposite end. Or it could be that the knee torqued in such a way that the back of the legs hurt. Usually, those kind of things happen. Now, myself, I've fallen on my knees so many times that my knees don't even hurt from it. I mean, granted, I'm a lot smarter about how I fall. If I was to just fall straight down on my knees, yeah, I'd get hurt. But I've gotten pretty good about how I twist and roll and flip and so forth. I mean, I'm not exactly an acrobat, but what I'm saying is I know how to fall more or less. I'm pretty good about it. Not saying I'm great. Obviously, I get hurt occasionally from time to time. I've got plenty of cuts and bruises, but in general, I'm a lot better at it than I used to be. And I hope that 2 weeks from now or whatever, I don't come back with an injury. But as a general rule, you get better the more you do it. Now, for safety, strength, control, agility, flexibility. Strength, control, agility, flexibility. 4 things. Strength, control, agility, flexibility. Remember them and work on them. These are things you do off ice. All right, understand this. Skating is a dangerous sport. You're going to get hurt, and it's inevitable. You're going to go out there, and even if you're the best skater in the world, you're still going to slip up, and you're going to whack your head, or you're going to get kicked in the face, or you're going to get slashed. It happens, okay? It happens to everyone. But 90% of the time, you could avoid a serious injury if you work on those 4 things. Strength. If you do conditioning, if you lift weights, if you strengthen your body overall, you know, if you're built like a tank, or at the very least, you know, if you're built like a Jaguar, then you can take quite a bit of impact and still walk away, and you'll be all right for it. However, you also need control, because if you just have strength but no control, you're going to fall over the place trying to do anything, obviously. Agility is your reaction time. I can't tell you how many times that I'm doing something and then I slip and I'm falling and I'm like, okay, so I've just lost control. I'm falling now, so I'm going to twist myself in such a way that I'm going to land and I'm going to be fine. Now, all of that I just said goes through my mind in, I don't know, maybe a half a second, maybe a third of a second. That amount, the awareness, the reaction, and the preparation to it. I mean, all of that just happens so quickly just because from years and years and years and years of doing this kind of thing and the kind of training. But if you want to get on the inside track, if you want to develop the necessary skills without having to have metal parts in your ankle like I do, then you have to work on your agility. Get a ladder and do agility training. If you look at my off-ice videos, and when we were going through them, initially there was a couple of them. Actually, I'm just going to show you right now as I talk about the other stuff. Here we go. All right, there we go. Where is it? Here. Okay. So I have some agility training ones here. Okay, so let's look at a couple of these. This is the Icky Shuffle. This is a fun one. All right, so let's watch this. Okay. All right, go back here. Anyway, this kind of agility training, this is called a quick ladder, agility ladder. The brand that I have here is called Yes for All, and no, I'm not shilling for them. It's just the cheapest ladder that I could buy, and I bought it on eBay for like, I think $15 or something like that. There's another ladder called Skills, which is like the branded one. Mine's like the knockoff brand, if you will. Now, I'm not saying that mine's bad. Actually, I prefer mine more because on the Skills, these things right here, the strap goes over the top and underneath in such a way that you can't change the spacing on the ladder. And on mine, I could adjust the spacing all I want. Now, that means initially you kind of have to set it up, because when I first got it, it was too wide. And you want it about the width of your foot. And because you're not really going to be putting your foot all the way down, at least not for these kind of exercises. You're going to be landing and going off the balls of your feet. So if it's the width of your foot and you're landing on the balls of your feet, you're going to be just fine. But anyway, beside the point, even if you don't have any money, just get a piece of chalk or a colorful rock and just scrape out a ladder somewhere on the cement, and then do that. And then that way you got something to work with, or painter's tape, and you can make a ladder indoors. And all these things I've seen done. So I'm not just coming up with it. I've seen these kind of ladders and I've worked on those kind of ladders. I've worked on tape ladders. I've worked on marked out ladders. I have my own personal ladder. But anyway, let's watch. This is going to give you the reaction time you need to be able to not only skate faster and more efficiently, but also it's going to enable you to react to instances where suddenly you lose control. And it's going to keep you safer in the long run. Now, over here, as I go here, it's a little slower so you can see how the steps go. Basically, it's step in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, like that. But anyway, watch it a couple of times. If this is too difficult, just look at some of the other ones. You have butt kicks and forward runs, which are self-explanatory. Anyway, ladder drills are amazing. They're really fun and really good for you. All right, and then the last, so I said strength, control, agility, and flexibility. Flexibility is stretching. All right, now I don't have really good stretching videos. I will probably get to that eventually, but first I want to make sure my flexibility is top notch. My flexibility has to improve before I start making videos talking about it. I mean, I have been trained for years on how to stretch. I know the exercises, but I myself want to make sure that I can show you everything properly at 100% before I start making videos. However, there's plenty of stretch videos out there. And to be honest, just pick something. Pick something that stretches you and gets you more flexible, because even if you're strong and you're agile, you could still tear something because by stretching it too much. Just like that. And it might not be necessarily they did something wrong. Sometimes even if you do it right, you can still get hurt. So just keep that in mind. Strength, control, agility, flexibility. And it's going to make you a lot stronger. And you're going to be a lot safer for it too. All right, well, I hope I answered that question. Let's move on here. Okay, and just a second. Alright, so I'm back. Here we go. I was just making sure that everything's running on the far end. Okay, so Lizzie Pearl writes, "Hi Oleg, I switched from Jackson soft skates to Jackson Mystiques. I feel like I can't do anything because I'm breaking them in and getting used to the bigger toe pick. How do I get used to them faster?" Okay, this is a great question. Alright, now, oh yeah, she added, oh yeah, to add to Dia, how do I avoid getting on the toe pick during spins? My coach says to press my toes up, but I find that difficult to do. Okay. Let me answer some questions real quick here. Alright, so what you want to do is that... Alright, here we go. Let me get myself here. Well, actually, I made a video about skates a while back, and I'm going to be able to show you that. Let me find it first. This is a while back. But basically what I did was I talked about... This is in my vlogs. I wonder if I have it up. I think I do. Yes, I do. Alright, let me switch it over here. Alright, so if you go to my website, istandsoleg.com, then we go on, let's just do that. Just go to istandsoleg.com. Let me show you where to find this. You could also find it on YouTube, but over here you go to videos, Oleg, or you can go to vlogs. And over here you could also click vlogs, same thing. And you want to go down, and again, I gotta update all this. Okay. This is a video I made on my skates. And I've had these skates for about 3 years now, and they've lasted me pretty well. Let's watch. talk about some general tips. And let me just jump ahead. So first, I don't know what I'm talking about here. I'm trying to find, there we go. Okay, skates, yes. So you have a brand new pair of skates, and I'm just talking about what's going on with my skates. Let me just get a better angle here. Okay, that'll do. All right, so you have hooks. This is, I think, what I'm talking about in this video is when you have a brand new pair of skates, if you lace them up all the way to the top, they're going to be really stiff. Right here, you're not going to be able to press forward, so you're going to feel like you're skating with bricks. So what you want to do is, you just don't tie to the topmost hook. When I get brand new boots, now normally I should mention that I only have 3 hooks on my skates, that I specifically tell them no more than 3, because if I go more than 3 it's just unnecessary. But what happens here is I might only tie them to 2 hooks. I've even skated initially with 1 hook on some skates, which were so stiff that I just needed that extra room to be able to press. But what I'm trying to tell you is you want to tie them tight enough to where you have the necessary flexibility to skate and do everything you want to do. Well, how do you know if you have the necessary flexibility? All right. Well, in that case, let's do this. Actually, it's going to be an off ice. Here we go. Now look at this one, our axis of stability exercise. Okay. So here we go. When you stand against the wall, your shoulders, your hips, your heels against the wall, when you bend down, you should be able to push your knees several inches past your toes. Now, if you notice in all the other stuff I was working on, this is an unusual position. People brought up and asked me, what about squats? Well, when this isn't exactly for squats. We're not trying to do squats per se here. This is an axis exercise. It's meant to do something else. It's meant to develop the necessary positions you need for things like stroking and edges and turns. And in order to be able to skate effectively, you need to be able to push your knees past your toes. You want to coil up like a spring so that you could build up the energy and bounce forward, or stroke forward in this case. Now, what you want to do is, if you can do this while keeping your heels on the ground without going up on your toes, then your skates are fine. Now, another thing I should mention is, when you press down like this, you should be able to essentially relax your whole body. And just by holding this position, your skates should be able to support this position, meaning that, like, if you did this naturally and just let go of your knees, just let your whole body relax while standing without skates on, you would just collapse, right? But in skates, if you just press your heels down and relax everything else, your boots should be stiff enough to where they give you enough ankle support, which prevents your ankles from pressing forward any further, and your knees thus will be maintained at this angle. So just by balancing alone in this position, you would be able to maintain this position. If you can do that without going any further and without being too high up, then your skates are properly tied for effective training. Now, when you first start out, this might feel too loose. Like, if you can't do a 1-foot glide, don't even worry about this. This is more for people that could comfortably do some edges, can do insides and outsides, at the very least their forward stuff. But if you don't have enough control, like initially, skaters, they need to develop really strong ankles. Now, it's kind of a catch-22. If boots are tight to begin with, then your ankles aren't going to really develop the necessary strength, because it's like being in a cast. You know, if you keep them in a cast all the time, they're not going to work. If your skates are a little looser, then your ankles will start to develop and to pick up the necessary slack. But like I said, you don't want your skates too loose either. If you can get that position, then it's what I find as the optimum position between having them too loose and too tight and to be able to skate effectively. So keep that in mind, and that applies to whether the skates are brand new or whether they're old. If the skates are old and they no longer support you, then in that case you can run some duct tape around the ankle to give you additional support, or some other tapes. What I've seen skaters do sometimes is run duct tape and then run electrical tape if they had to, or skate tape over it to match their skate color. Or they can get duct tape in the color, and there's white duct tape, there's black duct tape. So you can get duct tape to match if you're concerned about how it looks on the ice. And duct tape works pretty well for giving you additional support, but that's a temporary measure. It's not something that you should really rely on a permanent basis. Just keep that in mind. All right, well, I hope that answered your question, and let's move on. All right, let me just see here. Oh, we're getting a bunch more questions. This is good. I'm probably not going to be able to get to all your questions, but whatever I don't get, and hopefully things are going to be a lot more organized going forward, I'm going to be able to come back and answer in the next ones. Okay. By the way, if you see this as well, I have this option called Super Chat. This is a new feature that YouTube enabled for me. And basically, if you wanted to send me a highlighted message, you can at the same time send me a few bucks by doing it that way. And that way you could support my videos, whether you can do it this way or through Patreon or through GoFundMe. Either way is fine. And again, it's only if you feel comfortable with it. If not, don't worry about it. But I always appreciated your support. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to read the rest of your comments here, making sure. All right, here we go. All right. Another question they had here is, Dia, do you have any tips for spinning correctly on the rocker? Would off-ice spinners help? Okay, well, in this case, see, most of the spins that I do was with a partner, so it's a little different. I do spin on my own. I do have some spin videos, but I'm not exactly a professional spinner in the sense that I don't spin as well as a freestyle skater would by myself. With a partner, I spin just fine, and by myself, I spin okay. But what I'm saying is, depending upon the level, to get you an idea how to develop to avoid scratching too much, I would say you want to work on rocker awareness. Actually, I did an exercise a long time ago for this, which is kind of weird, but it's also very effective to kind of help you understand the curvature of your blade. Let me see here. All right. Okay, so we go down, down, down. All the way down. Not too far down. Okay, I just gotta find it wherever I put it. Here we go. 5-point blade position exercise. I actually came up with this in regards to a similar question a student once gave me. And oftentimes I make these videos, it's in response to a question I have in a private lesson, and I'm like, this is a great thing to cover in a video sometimes. All right, so let's jump right into it, shall we? Okay. So I subdivided the blade into 5 points. You can do more or less, it's really up to you. But for the purpose of this video, I assigned 5 points. So you'll have your toe picks. So you stand against a wall, you're holding the wall, and then you will go back and forth on your toe picks, just like that. So you know where your toe picks are at. I mean, you've got to be completely on the toe picks. Not, when I say toe picks, I really mean like the first one or two. So, but you don't have to go up on any higher for the purpose of this exercise. Toe picks are mostly for like footwork and for toe picking into jumps and so forth. All right, then we can move on. All right, now for the purpose of this exercise, this point right here, now we're on the ball of the foot, we're on the rocker part of the blade, and we're wiggling back and forth. So when you do this, you don't want to slide back and forth all over your blade. You want to just stay on the rocker and just wiggle back and forth, just like that. That's point 2. Point 3 is middle. And the point that we wanted, like I said, was the rocker point. It's going to be the most relevant for spins. You work on that, it's going to give you that awareness. Doing this exercise will help you have a greater awareness of where you are on your blade. And that way when you spin, you're going to have a greater understanding of what's going on. Over here, this is the little bit behind the rocker. This is like the middle to back section. Now this section, oftentimes you skate through this. When I say skate, when I talk about skating through the heel, I usually talk about this area, heel to the latter half of the blade, because you want to start your push from there and roll forward. If you're starting your push from up here, you're going to get a very tiny push, not much to go on. Go back here, you get a much stronger push. Alright, so then you go back and forth here, and then you go on your heels. Now, again, this is the furthest that you want to skate on a normal basis, from the heel forward. You don't have to be on the heel the entire time. You could be more about here. I prefer you not being on this part all the time. Like a lot of beginners, they like to be up on the balls of their feet, practically scratching their toe picks, especially backwards. You want to be aware of the curvature and how much blade you actually have. Sometimes when I work with skaters who are just learning their backward skating, they might be skating like up here, and then they think they're back here. And I'm like, you know, you have another full length of a blade that you can go on back there, another half to go. But of course, you don't necessarily want everyone to suddenly rock back. It takes time and comfort to be able to use the length of your blade. Just awareness. This is all about awareness right now. Okay, and now the 5th point is up here. Now, this is actually done sometimes. You do use the heels mostly for footwork. As a matter of fact, in my program with Nikki last year, we had a step where we went up on the back of our heel, step, and then in our choreo step sequence. It was actually pretty cool. You could find a video of it on YouTube somewhere, but or you could actually watch it in the Philadelphia Skating Club and Humane Society Challenge Cup. You could watch a video of us doing it there. But anyway, long story short, the reason I have you do this point, the 5th point, is so that you know this is the absolute limit of your blade, unless you have the special blades that have an extra edge here enabling you to glide on your heels and do spread eagles on your heels, like Michael Weiss from years past. I mean, some of you probably don't know who that is, but yeah, that's a thing you could look up. Him doing spread eagles on the back of his heels with his toes up like this. It's pretty cool. Anyway, those are some unique blades. But in this case, most blades are like this. You terminate here, and then you want to just wiggle back and forth, just to give you that understanding and awareness of what your blade is and its curvature and the different points on it that you end up using. Alright, well, I hope that helps you. Now, back to me. Alright. Okay, I'm going to take one more question and then I'm going to wrap it up for the day. I will continue doing this again, of course. Let's see here. Alright, I'm going to go with Ralph here, and then, let's see here. Yeah, by the way, everyone's signing in late. Again, I was late myself. I couldn't get my equipment to connect. I'm still having trouble on some of the stuff, but overall, it's getting better. Let me just make sure everything is working properly here. Alright, and anyway, we have a question here, and this is from Ralph. By the way, greetings to everyone in the chat, just saying that. How do you progress onto double twizzle? And then he has, may I give a suggestion for Lizzie? Do you 2-foot spin from a standstill, try to get and feel the sweet spot on the spin? When you feel it, then convert to a 1-foot spin. Actually, that's a great point. And I have a 2-foot to a 1-foot spin in the video. I'm actually going to go back and look at that real quick. And let me just see here. right, and here we go. Oh, by the way, this is the thing I was talking about. Again, I'm still trying to figure out all the features, but the option here is if you wanted to send me a big shout out, you can do so via the option here. Again, it costs a few bucks, and then that goes toward my efforts. Anyway, getting back to the question that we had here. Let's look at I stands for Oleg. And actually, let's look at playlists. I think I have a separate one for spins. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Got a 2 foot to 1 foot spin. Okay, and again, not the best spinner. Here we go. Actually, now that I no longer have a dance partner, I can probably develop better spins. I'm going to have more time to do that sort of thing. All right, this is it's a little more advanced if you're first starting off, but actually, let me see here. I really need to develop a basic 2 foot spin video. Let me see if I have anything like that. Yeah, actually, I don't have anything like that in here. But what I'll do is, I'm glad we're making these videos together, because that gives me something to think about. Like whenever I'm like, okay, so what kind of video should I make? Well, there's another one I got to do for you. I have to do a really basic 2 foot spin video, and then a really basic 1 foot spin without the cross, just lifting your leg. But essentially, yeah, you want to start off and feel your legs, feel the balance, feel the rocker. And then when you're comfortable, switch to a 1 foot spin. But I'm going to make a video because, show, don't tell. And getting back to Ralph's question. All right. Okay, he said, yeah, how do you progress onto a double twizzle? Alright, well, let's look at some videos for that. Let me see here. Again, I probably need to develop a more basic twizzle video for you. But let's see here. I think in playlist I should have a twizzles playlist. Yeah. And yeah, I need to have a more basic one. But let's look at, I'll just grab any one of these twizzles. Essentially what you want to do is, and I'll just talk while we watch this, you want to start with doing a double 3-turn. Actually, we could look at a double 3-turn video while we're at it. Although the ones that I have are probably too deep for our purposes, meaning the edges curve too much. But if we go over here, let's watch this for a minute. Okay. So you want to do you remember you're turning, the way you do twizzles is you're turning on the ball of the foot, then heel, ball, heel, ball, heel, ball, heel, ball, heel. If you just hold the ball, you're going to end up doing in a spin. So, or loops. You might end up just traveling and doing loops. And if you ever see loops, if you see like twizzle, loop, then what happened was you went ball, heel, ball, like that. And then because you never went back to the heel, then that's how you end up having loops in your twizzles. Anyway, you want to be able to turn on your heel comfortably. Because a ball, turn heel, ball, heel, ball, heel, ball, heel. If also another thing is if you're getting big skid marks in the middle of your twizzle, it's because what's happening is that you're trying to turn in the middle of your blade, and that just won't work. You're just going to end up skidding out. Let's watch it slow. Again, turn on the ball, turn on the heel, ball, heel, ball, heel, ball, heel. Now, what you could also do is do check threes. Ball, heel, ball, heel, ball, heel. And then you just don't try to do twizzles. Just do check 3 turns, double 3 turns, slow double 3 turns. Again, this is another thing I need to make a more basic video explaining this, as this is quite in depth. But if you can do check 3 turns, then what's going to happen is it's going to give you that kind of a feel. And eventually you want to transfer out to twizzles, only you don't check. You just roll through them continuously, doing the same motions, but without checking each and every turn. So I can see right now you guys need to have a more basic twizzle video for you guys. I definitely have to make that. And I definitely have to make a more basic spin videos. So look forward to that in the near future. I got to wrap it up for the night. And for those of you who have missed the rest of the video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide them up into each of the questions that I answered as a separate one on the Patreon. So if you wanted to go back in and look at the questions, then you can go in and see it rather than having to sit through an hour-long video trying to get to the one question that you want. Because it's not immediately obvious what I'm talking about when you're just trying to find, trying to search through it. So yeah, those will be up on my Patreon. I'm just going to divide them all up. Again, I appreciate you guys joining in today and being patient. Again, I'm very sorry it took so long to get it off the ground, but now that it's off the ground, things should be up and running much smoother now. All right, so the next time I plan to broadcast, I'm not sure yet. I still have to figure out what my schedule is with work. But what I'm going to do is, if you go on my page, on my home page, where I have that video talking about live stream dates, click on it and then look in the description, and that's going to list the latest time. As soon as I figure out when I'm doing it next, then I'm going to have it there. All right. And if you want to support my efforts, you could do so via Patreon or GoFundMe or Super Chats. That's the thing where you click and send me a note and so forth. Anyway, and also if you don't want to do it with any kind of money involved, you can do so sharing my videos and liking them. That also helps me a lot. Helps spread the word, helps grow the channel. All right, well, see you guys next time, and I really appreciate it.